Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to a little early 2022 college football preview. We've got some game lines that have trickled in over the past few weeks. I'm going to talk about some initial lines that I really like, also talking about future Heisman odds, future national championship odds, and giving you guys my current best future bet for college football in this video. But first, I wanted to go over some different game lines. We've got Penn State at Purdue. This is the opening week Thursday night game on Fox in West Lafayette. And it's got Penn State listed as a 3-point favorite, over under 54.5. I love Penn State -3 in this. Purdue, they do return a prolific passer in O'Connell, pretty good quarterback, but they lose David Bell. This Penn State team, they know in a tough Big Ten East, you cannot lose to a team like Purdue. Veteran quarterback Sean Clifford, a lot of people don't like him, but you're going to, that veteran leadership on the road week one. I like Penn State to win this game by at least 7 points. I would take them -3, and then the over-under 54.5. I wouldn't bet on that right now. I don't have a really good gauge on that. But I like Penn State next year. Veteran leadership, James Franklin. They're going to have a bounce-back year. What did they go, 7-5 this past year? It's going to be a bounce-back year. Week one, it is, at Purdue. I would not want to play in that game, if I'm the favorite. But Penn State, I think they get it done. You have Ohio State and Michigan State coming up on the schedule. This is a must-win game, week one. Also, this is another huge week one game. I am not exactly sure on the time of this game, but right now, I would probably say it is going to be at noon on ABC. That's just my prediction, because when you look at the week one schedule, you've got Ohio State, Notre Dame at the 7:30 time slot on ABC. And then I believe, you've got Oregon and Georgia at the 3:30 ABC time slot. So I'm guessing this game will be at noon on ABC, this Utah versus Florida game, which is a really intriguing non-conference matchup, and I like Florida to win this game outright. They are +1. This could be a huge game, huge hype game for Anthony Richardson. It is in Gainesville. This is a massive game for Florida's program. Utah is very likely going to be ranked inside the preseason AP top 15. I would guess they would give Florida a preseason ranking of maybe like 24 or 25, just to give this game a little added hype, make it, two ranked teams playing each other. But to me, Florida at home, massive crowd advantage. It could be at noon, which would be interesting because you would get 90-degree weather early September in Florida. That would be, tough. I just don't know, because I do think this game is going to be on an ESPN network, unless it's on maybe CBS. Would CBS get this game? In that case, it would be 3:30, but I highly doubt this is going to be a night game due to the other games, specifically the Ohio State Notre Dame game, week one being at night. So this game's either going to be noon or 3:30, and I like Florida being at home +1. That's good value to me. Utah is a really good team. They lost Devin Lloyd. They do return their starting quarterback, Cam Rising, but it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. Florida is the more talented team. They're at home. Week one, big crowd, huge energy. Anthony Richardson announces himself and maybe gets a little September Heisman hype. Anthony Richardson, interesting quarterback there. We've got another week one game. So this is the 3:30 game. That is, the neutral site game in Atlanta, Georgia, between Oregon, who will be traveling a little bit further than Georgia to go to this game. Oregon is +16.5, and I love Oregon to cover. I also love the under in this game. I see it being a low-scoring game. You take a look at Georgia. They're sticking with Stetson Bennett. They lose a ton on the defensive side of the ball, but they have recruited unbelievably. To me, this is your typical week one low-scoring game where the defenses are so far ahead of the offenses. Oregon has recruited really well on the defensive side of the ball. They have 2 former 5-star linebackers that I'm going to be looking at watching. Again, Georgia's offense just doesn't do it for me. They also lose George Pickens. Stetson Bennett, I'm not impressed. I don't think he's going to put up a ton of points. I think Georgia wins this game, maybe like 26-17, a weird score, maybe a few field goals involved, a safety. But yeah, 16.5, I like Oregon to cover that. Oregon, it's going to be low scoring. Bo Nix making his first start for Oregon, but it's essentially a road game. I mean, you can't say it's a road game because Georgia at their home stadium, I mean, they'd probably be like 20-point favorites, but still, they're barely, it's in Atlanta, Georgia. The game's in Atlanta, Georgia, folks. What are we doing? Come on. It is ridiculous. But moving on to the absolute main event, week 1 game, Notre Dame at Ohio State. The Buckeyes minus 14.5. The over-under is 58. I love the Buckeyes minus 14.5, and I love the over 58. So my thought process going into this one, hear me out on this. Ohio State, in their past two, they've had, two major non-conference home games. Back in 2016 against Oklahoma, they lay an egg. Last year against Oregon, they lay an egg. They are due to absolutely destroy a team, non-conference, huge home game. They will not let it happen again. Marcus Freeman, first-year head coach. Notre Dame breaking in a new quarterback. Ohio State returning the Heisman favorite, C.J. Stroud. They've got a great offense. They've got an improved, very talented defense with Jim Knowles. Superstar recruits C.J. Hicks, Sonny Styles. This sets up for an absolute bloodbath. I'm thinking 52-24. Ohio State. I think Notre Dame's going to be good this year, but week 1, this is so tough and so unfortunate for them and Marcus Freeman. They are running into an absolute buzzsaw. My thought process is there's a lot of things that go into it, but Ohio State's last 2 major non-conference home games, they lay the egg against Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma. They lay the egg last year, the big noon game against Oregon. This year, Ryan Day's not going to let it happen again. There's no way. Ohio State crushes Notre Dame. People are going to see that spread 14.5, and they're going to say Notre Dame's the better value. No. Guys, you'll see with Jackson Smith-Njigba, Emeka Egbuka, it's just you've got, Marvin Harrison Jr. It is crazy what Ohio State has, and then Trevion as a running back. So I love Ohio State in that one. This is the week 2 game between Alabama and Texas. Bama is minus 14. I love Bama to cover, and I love the over in this game. The over-under has not been released, but whatever it is, I love the over. And Alabama, there is some speculation on the start time being maybe a big noon game. I do think Fox will come to some sort of compromise. A lot of Texas fans are pissed. They're saying it's too hot if the game's on at noon. So maybe this is a 3:30 game, maybe. But either way, this is a very tough situation for Texas. This is Quinn Ewers' probably second career start at this point, week 2. Bryce Young, Heisman, trophy winner. Will Anderson, superstar defensive player. I love Alabama to cover the 14-point spread. Should be a higher scoring game, but I like Bama minus 14, and a lot of people like Bama. A lot of people think Bama's going to destroy Texas, and I think the reason is because Alabama, in these non-conference big games, they play mostly neutral site, but they just destroy teams whenever they play these Power 5 conference teams in the non-conference. The next game, this might be week 3 or week 4. It's Penn State at Auburn. I love Penn State here, guys. Penn State, they're +1. I love them straight up money line. That's a great early line to get Penn State at over Auburn. Auburn is a complete dumpster fire. This might be a closer, low-scoring game, but Penn State's going to have a bounce-back year. They've got the veteran leadership. They've got a very young, extremely talented 2022 recruiting class, including a great young running back. Penn State over Auburn. That's going to be a huge win for the Big Ten if they're able to get that as a conference. We've got Texas A&M at Alabama. This is like a week 5 game or something. This is Jimbo versus Saban. Alabama is minus 16.5, and I love Bama to cover the spread. I think Saban is going to run it up on Jimbo in this one, and it's probably going to be like a 24-point victory for Alabama. We understand that Texas A&M is going to be extremely talented. They're going to be one of the most talented rosters in college football in the years 2023, 2024. The main issue this coming year with Texas A&M, all these super recruits are true freshmen. And it's not completely uncommon, but normally true freshmen, it takes them a year in strength and conditioning systems to develop into being legitimate college stars. And I think that's what's going to happen. Texas A&M also breaking into a new quarterback. Alabama's at home. Saban's going to be pissed. This will probably be either a 3:30 game on CBS or the 8 o'clock game. Sometimes CBS has the SEC games on at 8 o'clock. You guys know what I'm talking about if you're college. Like, remember LSU and Alabama sometimes play it at 8 o'clock. So maybe this, I think they actually will. My prediction is they will actually make this the 8 o'clock game, one of their big exclusive CBS primetime games, because it's going to be Jimbo versus Saban. That's just an early prediction. But yeah, Texas, the quarterback disparity, Bryce Young versus, whatever Texas A&M has. They're breaking in someone new. I love Alabama to cover that spread. The Red River rivalry, we've got Texas and Oklahoma. So I love Texas to win this game outright. I think this is the year Texas does it. Oklahoma is vulnerable. First-year head coach. I like Dylan Gabriel, but it's a little bit of a risk. Also, you could say it's a risk with Quinn Ewers, but this is one of those games, it's almost always a lock to go over. I'm guessing the over-under in this is probably going to be 66, 67. It's going to be very high, but I still think the over's going to hit. Should be a close game, but this is the year I think Texas is able to finally defeat Oklahoma. These games, these Red River rivalry games are always really close. We know this is always the noon window. It'll be a noon start time there, and I think ABC has this game, if I remember that correctly. So those are just some early lines, early things that I like. As we get closer, I'm sure the lines are going to shift. They're going to move. We're going to get more odds and things like that, but just some early lines. And then when you take a look at the national champion, you guys can see currently Alabama plus 200, Georgia plus 340, Ohio State plus 450, and then there's a massive drop-off after the top 3. We expect those teams to be ranked 1, 2, and 3 in the preseason AP poll. My guess right now is Alabama's going to be 1 in the preseason poll, Ohio State will be 2, Georgia will be 3. Worst odds on the board, the University of Georgia plus 340. If there's one thing you should not do, it is bet on Georgia plus 340. I would not bet on Georgia plus 1,000. And I'll tell you why, guys. There's actually 2 different reasons. Number 1, it is so hard to be a repeat champion in any major North American sport. Whether it's NFL, college football, college basketball, MLB, NBA, repeating is virtually impossible unless you're Alabama football. And with Georgia and still starting Stetson Bennett, I don't see a chance that dude gets another champion. There's no way to me. I think Georgia will miss the playoff. And it's nothing. Georgia broke through last year. That's great. Congratulations. They're really talented. They're going to reload. I agree. But they're going to lose 2 or 3 games and they're going to miss the playoff this year. They are. Plus 340 is horrible odds. When it comes to my number 1 college football futures bet, based on the best value right now, the best value you can make that has a legitimate chance of actually hitting right now, in May, late May, Ohio State to win the national championship plus 450. Ryan Day and this Buckeyes program, they are due. You've got C.J. Stroud returning for a second year. You've got a superstar running back. You've got a stable of star receivers. You've still got a really good offensive line as long as Paris Johnson Jr. steps up. And people expect him to. He's a former 5-star recruit. He's a former, he's projected to be a top 10 pick in the 2023 draft. You have an ultra-talented defense with Jack Sawyer, with JTT, with the young freshman, with a Jordan Hancock, the cornerback. We'll have to see with Josh Proctor. Is he healthy? This is Ohio State's year. You can get them right now, plus 450. And you can see my little bet slip there. I expect, that'll be a nice little, win for me of $11,000. That's going to be very fun to cash out in, January when the Ohio State ends up winning. The Buckeyes plus 450, amazing value right now. You could say Alabama, Bryce Young, he's going to get a national title. I understand. I get it. Ryan Day is due. They keep talking about first-year head coaches. Kirby got his first one last year. Ryan Day's getting his first one this year. This is the best bet you can make right now. The best overall odds, plus 450. Some places you can get them around plus 500. I've seen Ohio State as low as plus 500, so that's the best bet. And then we're looking at the Heisman odds. You do have C.J. Stroud as the plus 250 favorite. There is Bryce Young at plus 350. And then Caleb Williams plus 900 with Bijan Robinson plus 2,000. So there's a major drop off there. C.J. Stroud being the favorite over Bryce Young, that is mainly due to the fact it's so hard to repeat as the Heisman winner. And it's almost like C.J. Stroud is due. Now, where's the best value on this board? I'm looking at this entire board, and I'm looking at a defensive player. I'm looking at Will Anderson Jr., who is an absolute freak. He's listed at plus 4,000. Okay, guys, to me, the Heisman voters are dying. Just 1 year, they are dying to give a defensive player the Heisman. They're dying to. Will Anderson can have such a dominant season with maybe 20 sacks. To me, I'll say this, if Chase Young doesn't get suspended, and Joe Burrow doesn't go ridiculous, bonkers, I think Chase Young wins the Heisman back when he had, 18 sacks. He ended up getting suspended 2 games. He had a 4-sack game against Penn State. He had a 4-sack game against Wisconsin. But guys, I can sense it. They want, just 1 year, they want to give a Heisman to a defender so bad. The narrative is set up. They're always talking about, it's a quarterback award. A quarterback wins the award every year. The script is set up for a defensive player to finally get some recognition if Will Anderson does what I think he has the potential to do, which is completely dominate certain games. Just take them over. We're talking 4 or 5 sack games I think Will Anderson could have. This is the number 1 overall prospect in terms of the NFL draft for 2023. This is a guy that would have been the number 1 overall pick in front of Aiden Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker in 2022. That's how talented this kid is. So if you're looking for a long shot, plus 4,000. Also, Anthony Richardson being plus 4,000. I don't think Anthony Richardson is winning it, but I do think if Anthony Richardson has a massive week 1, he could be known as like the September Heisman. Like he could get some really big September Heisman hype and then kind of falter down the stretch. That's my opinion of him. But realistically, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, it is a quarterback award. I would not bet on either of them just because it's not good odds. It's not good value. Plus 250, plus 350. The best value right now for a futures college football bet is to bet on the Ohio State University to win the national title. And I'm not even an Ohio State fan, guys. I'm a college football. I'm just telling you, I'm a fan of every single team in college football. That's what I am. And I just go by best bets. And that's the best bet right now in late May. Plus 450. I wouldn't touch the Heisman board. Bijan Robinson, Texas is going to lose too many games for Bijan to win. DJ Uiagalelei, folks, he's just not good enough. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, I don't think they're going to give it to a receiver again. They already gave it to Devontae Smith a few years ago. And if let's just say if JSN is in the Heisman conversation, where does that put CJ Stroud? He's probably above him. Dylan Gabriel, it's not happening. Tyler Van Dyke, I like this kid. They're probably going to lose too many games. Jackson Dart, not going to happen in the SEC. And then Slovis, the kid for Pittsburgh, without Jordan Addison, that's not happening. Trevion Henderson, if Ohio State committed to the run, I could see him getting 2,000 rushing. Trevion Henderson is, folks, I'm going to go ahead and say this, Trevion Henderson is better than Bijan Robinson, folks. I don't know who you need. Let's just admit it. I love Bijan. Robinson. Trevion Henderson has another gear. He does. It is what it is. And then you've got Bo Nix down there. You know who I do love? I love Malik Cunningham. He's got no chance to win the Heisman, but I'm so sick and tired of seeing people rank KJ Jefferson significantly above Malik Cunningham. And a guy that's not even on this board that I really do love, Brendan Armstrong. Virginia quarterback. He's very likely not going to win it, but he might be like plus 10,000. Maybe you throw $100 on him and, you get a little lucky or something. I don't know. But, guys, that is going to do it. Just some quick initial odds for the 2022 season. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.